And time check 7:35, and we know that voting at least should have started across those 74 polling areas or polling stations across the constituency in Talensi. And we know, well, the race really is between the MPP and the NDC. Just 2 days ago, they held the last-minute rallies, but also the stakes really, according to what we're getting from the ground, are really high as far as this very by-election is concerned. And to give us a lot more update is the Upper East Regional Police Public Relations Officer, ASP Thomas Agbanyo. And thanks for speaking to me, Mr. Agbanyo. Okay, hello? Do we have you on the line, sir? Mr. Agbanyo? Well, so we'll try as much as possible to get through to ASP Thomas Agbanyo, who is the Upper East Regional Police PRO, and we'll try and get a lot more updates on the subject. Now, Mr. Agbanyo, can you particularly give us the security preparations for this very by-election?
Hello?
Good morning, sir. Can you particularly give us the security arrangements for this very by-election?
You're talking so slowly. Is there anything wrong with you?
I'm talking slowly?
I don't hear you talk.
Okay, I'm sorry, sir. Can you hear me clearly now, sir?
Yeah, talk a bit loudly. You know, I'm using a cell phone, and you are just on it, so don't think I'll hear asking me.
Okay. Can you hear me clearly, sir?
Go on.
Okay, what security arrangements have you put in place for this very election, sir? Well, we seem to be having some difficulty with ASP Thomas Agbanyo, and we'll try and get a very good line to call him on, and then we'll try as much as possible to get or elicit a lot more responses from him as far as this very election is concerned. But again, the stakes are very high, and we know that at least all the parties, or most of the notable parties, at least the MPP, the NDC, the CPP, the PPP, the PNC, and a couple of others are also taking part in this very election. The by-election followed the resignation of the former member of parliament who had been installed or enskinned as a traditional chief of the area. And so that had left the seat vacant for the by-election to be convened by the Electoral Commission of Ghana. We have ASP Thomas Agbanyo on the line. Sir, can you please tell us what security arrangements you've put in place for this very by-election?
What exactly do you can't ask me? I don't know the one asking the question whether there's something. I can't hear anything, and he's talking that.
Okay. We're sorry, we're getting some negative. He doesn't seem to be hearing me on the other side because as far as the systems are concerned, the sound systems have been put in place, and so whether I'm speaking loudly or not, it's controlled, and so my sound level should be enough for him to hear. So I guess it's just some of those technical difficulties that very much assigned to the job. So now, as far as we're concerned, I have with me Dave Agbe. He's the Executive Director for GIPS, the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Yeah. And thanks for joining me, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. And it's an interesting day today because we know that prior to now, it's been a mixed bag of issues, especially being traded between the MPP and NDC. How interesting has it been for you, by your own analysis, the last couple of days prior to now?
I think that you've used the appropriate word, that is an interesting phenomenon.
Yes.
With regards to the by-election at Talensi. And it is obvious in the sense that the two main political parties that we have in this country, NDC, MPP, they all want to experiment the grounds. They all want to test the, waters, preparing themselves towards election 2016. So everybody is trying to ensure that they get a certain level of grounds, preparing themselves very well. What is the mood of the country? What are the various political parties doing? The interest group, what are they doing? So this by-election is just one of those things to prepare the grounds very well, to make all the elections which are ahead of us becomes more exciting. You know, the district level election will also take place in September. So they are all part of the political game. We believe that this election is going to be peaceful. You were asking of security-related issues. My grounds, intelligence, tells me that we have the military, we have the police people there, we have other security network on the ground. They are all working to make sure that the election is well organized and becomes peaceful. And with regards to the various candidates, to everybody, I mean, looked, Nana-Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was there, you know, on Sunday. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was there. All the big wigs of the, you know, the political parties, they are all there to ensure that they garner support so that their preferred candidate becomes victorious. When you looked at the NDC, I mean, Mr. B.T. Baba, a very known gentleman, I believe you've interviewed him on several occasions. I mean, politically, he's very astute enough. He has always been on the ground. He has shown interest to become a member of parliament, but because of Honorable John Akulugotia, who has been there for almost about 5 times. So all the time, anytime that B.T. Baba want to, you know, test the waters, you know, John Tia will tell him that, no, you have to, you know, wait for some time. And so if you looked at the constituency very well, B.T. Baba is coming from the central part of it. That place is dominated, and they speak the Talensi language itself. And that is indigenous. Where, yes, indigenous people, and that is where B.T. Baba belongs to. And the eastern part of it, that is where John Akulugotia also belongs to. And the eastern part has had enough. They have had enough, and so it's more like, as you speak now, people are talking about the fact that the central needs to actually take an advantage of the situation now, because if they don't get the chance now, it will be like they will never get it again. And so when you take the Thomas too, I mean, a very established accountant and somebody who, you know, also understand law from Jimpa Law School and other places. A very sound guy. He raised good argument. He makes a lot of input as far as the politics in Talensi is concerned. So it is a battle between NDC and MPP. And we believe that those are the kind of people that we need in parliament. We need very sound people who can make critical arguments. We need good people who can critically look at what needs to be done for the people of Talensi. What are they bringing onto the table? And I think that with what they have in terms of academic credential, in terms of their behavior and everything, I think that we have a very good people contesting the seat for now. So we think that this election is just a preparatory ground for the people of Talensi, and they are just going to up to our game as far as...
Now, particularly when we've seen both parties, and by the pictures that we even have on screen and what we've shown previously, 2 hugely attended rallies. Of course, we know it's very symptomatic or very much a characteristic of these political events, but seem to have been a benchmark for which many of the parties, or if not the topmost parties, the 2 parties seem to think, well, they need to really test their political mettle with all that has happened, either with the economy and the arguments and things like that. But when we take the demographics of Talensi, it doesn't really become representative enough of what a typical independent constituency will think about the 2 parties. Is that not it?
Roland, the fact is that politics is a very complex game, and at any point in time you need to be testing the waters, you need to be testing the grounds to see, I mean, what you can do best to prepare yourself ahead of a very crucial election, that is election 2016. So if you looked at the NDC as a political party, they are looking at it from their lenses that if they should lose this election, it will be a political advantage to the opposition party, MPP.
By way of public opinion?
Exactly. It is by way of public opinion that even now that you are ruling the country, looked at your performance, a district election or a constituency election, here is the case that that seat used to be a stronghold for NDC as far back 1992 up to 2012 that Honorable Moses Osori won the seat. And here is the case that he wants a seat. Less than 2.5 years, he says that he is almost, resigning to become a paramount chief. So if NDC should lose the seat now, it will be a very good grounds for MPP to kick against NDC that yes, here is the case, only one constituency, you've lost a by-election. Should NDC also win, they are also going to say that yes, we understand the game. Here is the case that we told you, we just loaned the seat to you for a certain reasonable period of time. We've taken it back. It tells us that yes, of course, situations economically, things are not good. But when you come to political indicators, people do not vote based on the economic status.
Alone?
No. If you looked at the fact that it is only economic indicators that people vote based on what reflects in their pocket, you might be making a wrong assumption and a certain small, argument, because elections are about making sure that you get what we will call sense of belonging. Which party do I have to associate myself with, and that I will have that intrinsic values in me. So elections are material things and emotional things as well. So people are looking at the dynamics that if I should belong to MPP, is that the place that I will have my sense of belonging? Is that the place that I will have my, respect? Human dignity is something that you cannot take it away from anybody. I mean, like you, nobody can take your dignity. I mean, it is only God. So elections are about a certain level of dignity. It's about where do I belong to and where people will respect me, people will accept my views, and I will be able to also contribute something to the basket. So when you looked at all the political variables, you realize that people do not vote during election based on what reflects in their pocket. It is not about economy, but in a worldview, people perceptions is about the economy, it is about peaceful nature, it is about military, it is about security, and so many factors are put into a basket before people actually go into the pool.
Really, the study of human behavior is interesting.
Exactly. Right. And that is why anthropologists will tell you that human beings, we are complex in all circumstances. So no matter how you looked at it, I am complex, you are also complex, and everybody is complex. So when you study human behavior very well, that is where you will be able to appreciate what human beings, how we are and how we are actually created, and with our own differences here and there. So elections are very, very critical, and we believe that looking at the indicators in terms of economy, people might say that yes, NDC has maybe underperformed or they've not performed, to a certain level. But when it comes to election, you have to really test the grounds whether the people actually belong.
But really, as far as the indicators for the micro level of the economy are concerned, the people of Talensi should be really in another current economic conditions, and that should be one of the critical points by which they should vote. Is that not it?
It's one of the critical points that they need to actually vote. But the fact is that let's do neat analysis of the grounds. What are the needs of people of Talensi? Is it about road infrastructure? Is it about schools? Is it about hospital? Is it about other social amenities that need to be provided to them to better their living standard? It all comes to what you touch on. It all comes to the point of the economy. Has government been able to, earmark a certain project that needs to be done to satisfy the people very well? The DCE over there, has it been able to implement some of the government policies that will actually reflect in the lifestyle of the people over there? The two of us need to really do an analysis of that. And then we come to the packet. It is a farming community. What are their needs? Fertilizer and other basic farming equipments. Do they have access to all those things? So we are looking at it from a very bigger, point of view. But at the micro level there are certain intrinsic you
okay.
know.
So in other words, you're saying that for all the arguments that we tend to make in the more populous areas in the cities, talking about what the macro state of the economy is in terms of what the variables are, the GDP, the performance of the cedi against the major international currencies, the balance of trade and things like that. It doesn't matter to the people of Talensi, is that it?
You see, it matters, but they do not use all those things as a yardstick of measuring. I mean,
then that follows the question of the use of the state apparatus in perhaps championing these, because we've had reports and concerns being raised by the MPP that reservedly they perceive that the NDC may be abusing incumbency. And well, if you now go spreading fertilizer to the people, supposedly, if that is being done or has been done, you're giving them gifts. Well, I bet all the two parties or all the party will be giving them things and things of the sort. Which one weighs more heavily? Which one is seen to be perhaps more unethical?
As soon as you bring the word ethical in there, it makes the dynamics very, very complex. In public administration, we use ethics, and looking at the ethics is about what is good and what is bad. But in a political dynamics, when you are looking at a variable, the ethics count, but it is not something that people always use as a benchmark. But what I would say is that if you looked at the people of Talensi over there, they are examining the two main political parties. And you and I and everybody here, as a senior journalist in this country, very popular Roland Walker, you've monitored several elections and by-elections. All those accusations that abuse of incumbency during President Kufuor's time, I think it was used by NDC. In other administration, NDC has also used it, MPP has used it. But what needs to be done is that during by-elections, people need to always ensure that before even by-election, they need to do the needs analysis of the people to find out what can they provide to those people so that they will feel satisfied, rather than only by-elections that they will be doing the rationing, they will be doing what people will see it as unethical to be done at a certain particular time just to win votes. You see, ethical issues are that, oh, why do you have to do this thing at this point in time? You only want to touch at the emotions of the people because you need their votes. But other people will also say that, yes, the by-election has come, it is very crucial, it is an election. It is one of the variables that we need to also test our waters. So we need to do whatever is humanly possible to ensure that we win that elections. So this is the time that the people have come to them that, yes, we need a lot of fertilizer. We need borehole, water. We need schools. So let's do all those things. They are all part of the political symbolism to show that, yes, they have the people at heart, they have the interests of the people at heart, and they are doing what is politically possible for them to get a certain level of leverage over the other opponent. And so that is why when you read on Machiavelli, the principles of politics, it will tell you clearly that in elections, whatever that you need to do to ensure that you become victorious at a certain point in time, you need to do it. You see, so it makes elections a very complex game, and so when you bring the issue of ethics, it makes it more voluminous for us to actually digest. But I think that looking at
is it also because the parties don't tend to follow things about standards, and ethics are supposed to be laid down rules as well as moral reasonings for which people will tend to behave in a certain way within a certain framework or structure? And I bet we know that as far as that is concerned, in management, that plays a critical role. Well, we're not necessarily talking about
it is,
but this is very transient and
yes,
and borders on people's emotions and perceptions.
Yes. The issue of ethics is very, very important in this century. It is important that whatever that we do, we need to test our conscience that are we doing the right thing? Are we doing the wrong thing? As soon as, that is why, you know, God created us as human. So we are supposed to reason, you know, beyond an average level, such that we can be able to assess at a certain point in time that what we are doing is something good to satisfy humanity, because we have an obligation as human beings to do what is acceptable. We have an obligation to do what will actually ensure that the public interest or the general welfare of the people are actually satisfied. So I do agree with you perfectly, and it is not only in politics, in corporate affairs, you know, in corporate institutions, all those ethical values are very, very important to, you know, looked at. But I believe that in politics, it is a very complex game, and so whatever people would like to do to ensure that they get a certain advantage over you, they want to actually do it. So let's focus on the game, and we believe that at the end of the day, we need to look at the candidates, Benson, BT Baba, and then Thomas, the MPP candidate. Let's look at what they are actually bringing onto the table today. By the end of the election, we should see one of them, you know, being the representative of the people of Talensi. The people of Talensi needs a voice in Parliament now. So it is very important that these...
now, particularly when we've had a former member of Parliament being the chief, how will his voice hold sway on the people, whether indirectly, because we know chiefs are not supposedly directly expected to participate in politics, party politics, are they?
Yes, I think that Honorable Masuri assumed the position as a paramount chief almost about less than 2 months ago. So this is the first time maybe a big election is on his own grounds. And so he also wants to maybe tell the people that for now he has graduated from one level as a parliamentary candidate or a parliamentarian for MPP or for the whole area. Now he is more like superintendent of the whole area as a paramount chief. Either MPP can, NDC can, PNC or CPP or whichever party. He has to bring almost everybody together. So his comment, his observations, his remarks, or whatever it is, will not bring a certain reasonable level of influence to the people. I think that he would like to maybe use the occasion to tell everybody that now, all of you, you are my sons and daughters. So whichever political party wins, he will be ready to accept everybody. But Roland, if you looked at the place very well, Talensi, it is more like an obvious that NDC might carry the day, because the MPP do not have a strong leverage. If Honorable Masuri,
well, they won the last time, so you can't make such conclusions, can you?
You know why? Because look, Honorable Masuri won the seat less than 2.5 years. He left the people that I want to become a paramount chief. That one alone, politically, it sends a certain signal that do you actually have the people of Talensi at heart?
But which one is better, becoming a traditional chief or becoming a member of parliament? Becoming a traditional chief also makes you serve the people directly, is that not it? You even become an overall custodian of all the political...
Traditionally, but we are into democracy. And so when you are into democracy, it is more like an institutional thing that you want to do. You know, when you go into traditional affairs, you know, we have a dichotomy. You know, we have to separate tradition from real politics that we are doing in today's modern Ghana, which our constitution says that we need to do everything democratically. So we have that constitutional obligation to do what is acceptable as far as our political regimes are concerned now. So when you bring the issue of tradition, that yes, although he is the man in charge as far as traditions are concerned, but when it comes to political administration, you know, he will come down as we speak politically, because he is not being seen as somebody who has a political power, and to have a political power is a different ball game rather than a traditional belief. Although in villages and in our own suburb here and there, we tend to still hold on to that tradition. But as soon as we've transited, we've migrated to a different system of governance, I think that we need to actually respect the democratic principles that ensure that we need to do everything, you know, making sure that we involve the people, participation, making sure that the voice of the people are, you know, amplified to give everybody that level of belongingness to a society in terms of contributing their quota to their social and economic development.
Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo is quoted, and I'm just looking at myjoyonline.com, saying that retaining the seat after the close of polls will prove his party is well placed for victory in general elections in 2016. And John Dramani Mahama, who is the president and of course maybe the flag bearer of the NDC subsequently, is also saying that this is a curtain raiser, also a dress rehearsal for the 2016 elections. So almost as if the two main protagonists in this whole drama for 2016 very much up for it.
Exactly, just like
the stakes are very high.
It is high because the two of us know very well that they are just warming themselves up. It is a matter of experimenting the grounds, testing the waters to see, you know, what is happening. Is it that the government is not performing, so the people are going to vote against it based on the fact that, yes, all the economic indicators does not favor government, so the people are not benefiting anything or much of the national cake? You know, if the people are not benefiting and they realize that, yes, NDC is not their party that could be able to service or provide them with a certain level of amenities and development, they will say that no, we need to vote for MPP again, although the seat, you know, belongs to MPP as we speak currently. And so the MPP will also say that yes, if MPP is retained, then it tells it all that MPP is a very, very strong political party yearning for a good battle for 2016. It gives a very good leverage for MPP. As political party, what they need to do is to have an advantage at any point in time. And Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo said so, that if the seat is, you know, retained by the MPP, it gives them an opportunity. It gives them every moral justification, political justification to do whatever it's good for them to, you know, get an advantage over NDC. And NDC is also looking at it that if they should lose, then it speaks a volume that yes, the people of Ghana, although a certain group of people, we are not looking at the totality, but it is going to be a reflection on the country. It is going to be a reflection, although in politics we don't use only one variable to plot all our map or whatever it is, but it is a strong indication. So far as we are discussing it and all the media houses are discussing it, it gives a certain level of comfort to all the political parties that yes, whichever political parties wins now, he will be able to get, you know, a leverage over one another. So I think that it is a very good contest for all the political parties to test the grounds very well. And I do sincerely believe that if MPP wins, it will become a very, 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 you know, good grounds for them.
Okay.
But if NDC also win, it is not more like a maximum benchmark
for them to say they will retain their seat.
Yes, for them to
retain
yes, because traditionally the place belongs to them and they are the ruling government, so they have a lot of opportunities.
So it won't be anything.
It won't be anything surprising for NDC to win, but for MPP, if MPP wins,
that will be a great testament that
will be the greatest, you know, opportunity for them.
So you're saying even though they have the seat, it will still be an upset.
It will be
a big upset.
A very big.
We're still with David Agbe. David Agbe is the executive director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, GIGS, and we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll be speaking a lot more on the insight into both candidates and also looking at the permutations from the last election that was convened in the constituency there. That was back in 2012, and looking at the numbers, the voting patterns, etc. Then we'll go into the various compositions of, well, the demographics, the ethnicity, the population size, etc., and try to see really what we're talking about and how the permutations could be. We'll be joined by Dr. Mambwa Roxon. He's a political scientist, and he has had a long sojourn in the United States of America, teaching in various universities in that country and also holding various seminars on political science and also writing various papers on governance and management, etc. So do stay on. We're still looking at the by-election in Talensi. We'll be having our correspondent on the line. We'll also be speaking to various security agencies and their spokespeople on the line as well to get a lot more insight into what currently is happening, because voting has already started, so to speak. So do stay on. You're still watching the AM show on this very channel. We're still having a thorough discussion on the ongoing election, the by-election in Talensi, and we know that prior to now, the last 2 days had seen a frenetic lineup of activities, especially from the two main political parties, the MPP and the NDC, with huge rallies, hugely attended from their supporters, sympathizers, and also their registered members across the constituency and beyond. And we know that we also saw the main protagonists in the whole business of election 2016 in there, the incumbent President John Dramani Mahama, and also the flag bearer of the opposition MPP, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, all, well, trooping to the Talensi constituency to make sure that the right messages were sent to their supporters and the constituents as a whole. We have been joined by Dr. Mambwa Roxon. He's a political scientist, has had a long journey in the United States of America, teaching in various universities in the United States. Well, never mind the issues about now the need for all states to make sure that they endorse a gay marriage certificate, so to speak. We're talking politics this morning. It would have been interesting if we're talking about that. But the stakes are really high. And what would be your own observation the last couple of days? Especially, you see that, well, there have been trading of accusations on both sides, and also well-participated rallies. For somebody who has covered a number of elections in Ghana, seeing rallies that are hugely attended, it means that really the support on the ground means that the right signs have been sent to their supporters and even the neutrals. What would you say?
Well, what I would say is that the run-up to the Talensi elections is something to define both NDC and MPP, and the rejuvenation of CPP and PNC's attempted alliance. I can see, or I have seen for the first time, a CPP chairman campaigning for a PNC candidate, pursuant to an attempt by the two parties to merge and to fight the other two parties. I have seen also MPP trying to maintain that seat, and NDC also trying as much as possible to say that what they are doing is in the right direction in terms of the economy and other. So this particular Talensi election will define for the country whether this government is doing the right thing and whether MPP has anything for them in the 2016 election. So it defines this and also brings to bear the attempt by CPP for the first time to make an impact in the Ghanaian political scene. So at the end of today, we'll be able to define that. The rallies were well attended. The president, I did not think the president would even go there, but he went there. I saw the presidential candidate of the MPP was also there. I've seen a lot of wigs, big wigs have gone to Talensi, and a lot of accusations were being traded here and there as to the non-performance of the government and finger pointing here and there as to who has not done what and who has done what. So at the end of the day, today we'll be able, if at the end of the day NDC wins the Talensi seat, it demonstrates that yes, that place has been their familiar territory, and it will be very hard for any other party to go in there and take it. Remember that the one who took over from the then MP, who was an MPP, it was a clear demonstration when the president went there that they didn't want that particular MP. After raising his hands, there were a lot of boos against him, and unfortunately, because he was already registered, he was allowed to contest and he lost. The people said they didn't want him. Now, this particular guy who won was also working with an NGO. He was very familiar with the area. Fortunately, he was endorsed for the first time for MPP. He has since been made a chief, a paramount chief of the area, and it will actually not go well for him if MPP loses that particular seat, because then his influence wouldn't have gone far as a paramount chief. That means he's not somebody who can actually do well as a chief.
If you're a paramount chief, it means that as far as the traditional area is concerned, which perhaps even may spread beyond the borders of the constituency, exactly. you are the overlord?
Overlord, something like that. And so if his MPP is not able to retain that seat, then it's a slap in his face that he has been able to do his part, and he shouldn't have actually even accepted that paramountcy in the first place. Okay, if on the other hand MPP takes that seat, then it is that they are on the ground, and that it will be very difficult from now for MPP to actually take that seat.
For NDC?
Yes, for NDC. Because as a paramount chief, he has some sphere of influence, even if not all, a majority of the chiefs. So that is what I have seen, that at the end of the day, if it goes to MPP, then they will thank their God. And if it goes to NDC, yes, NDC will
say
say
still masters of the
area. Still masters of the area.
It was just a caretaker.
Yes, and
incident.
if the two are not fortunate and PNC snaps the seat, then it's like...
Can it happen that, let's say, we know the PNC is very much strong in some parts of the northern sector of our country?
Yeah. It can happen.
It can
happen because
if they have a likable candidate.
If they have a very likable candidate, I think in the upper east and upper west, like someone was saying the other day, we should begin to deal with personalities, and I agree with that person that we need to look at the quality of the person. And I've always advocated, even when I went to my, I was invited to the Kunkumba Youth Association in Tatale, Sango, and my speech was centered on the caliber of people that our ethnic group should elect to parliament. If you don't have the right caliber of people to go to parliament, you get nothing. You get nothing from government, because in parliament it's a national cake that you all argue to get. And we haven't reached the stage of the United States, but United States is so critical. Like the Talensi seat, they were talking about NDC constructing roads, new roads, and it is their time. I don't think it's something like bribery. No, I don't think it's corruption. It is their time. It's a national cake.
You are feeding it into our pattern of development.
Yes, because it's one time you get it.
Is that not a skewed way of looking at how perhaps abuse of incumbency comes about?
Well, every incumbent
will be seen to be abusing
whatever you do.
Invariably.
And if you have promised me a road 2 years ago and you haven't, and unfortunately I have a by-election in my area, I'll force you to do it, because that is the first thing I'll remind you.
Right.
And it happens even in the States where certain members of Congress will tell the president that I will not allow this highway to pass my area unless you construct a kindergarten here for me, unless you do this for me, unless you...
Especially in the state where they have environmental and things like
exactly, as long as it's not bribed into somebody's pocket, it's national development. After all, Talensi is also part of Ghana. Well, so if they are constructing roads, they have the right to do so. It is their luck
of looking at it.
Yeah, it's their luck.
But David, we don't have much time. We only have about, I believe, about 10 minutes more. As far as we're concerned, do you think that we need to thoroughly look at what the numbers were? Overall, the president had 17,000 in excess.
Yes.
And then the MPP candidate, who currently is the chief, had 11,000. The MPP candidate, the NDC candidate, John Tia, had about 9,000.
9,000
thereabout. And then we have the excesses, small ones. How come the president had 17? His candidate had 9. If you take a look at it, you do the minuses and the subtractions. That's in excess of 8,000. And then the MPP candidates 2,000 more than the NDC candidate. Yeah.
Yes. What happened in election 2012
was interesting one.
Well, it wasn't more of an interesting occasion, but it was like John Akrogo-Tia was imposing himself on the people, and the people said
overall the people said they didn't want them.
Yes, they said that no, the East had had enough for almost about since 1992 to 2000.
If you say the East side of the constituency,
the east side of the constituency of
that is where usually they were electing their candidate from.
Yes.
Okay.
And John Akrogo-Tia was the only gentleman on that land, you know. 1992, 1996, 2000, 2004, 2008, and 2012. They said no, enough is enough. Let somebody also go in there. He said no, and so the grounds were not good for John Akrogo-Tia. I was monitoring closely, even election 2016, even one of his cars, the one that he was, busing the people from, Accra, from Kumasi and other places. The car even got broken at Kintampo area there. So many things happened that suggests that John Akrogo-Tia wasn't going to win. But he was like, they told him no, Akrogo-Tia, we have so many other competent people. Let them go and contest. He was still saying that no. I mean, he wants to still go in there to be their parliamentary candidate. So it was misunderstanding between the NDC candidates. They weren't able to resolve all those things. And then John Akrogo-Tia, because of money and a certain influence, he said, no, I'm the gentleman, so I have to go. And so that was why the MPP guy actually navigated. So if you looked at the dynamics, if you looked at the figures on the ground, although the MPP candidate won by almost about 2.5, the difference was about 2,000 and over. But it tells you that because of the disagreement, that was why the MPP candidate won. And now that he has not been able to even serve his full term in office, for people to be able to assess him that 4 years and what have you been able to do for the people of Talensi, it becomes very difficult for people to measure his political success as far as his administration is concerned. So that was why earlier on I was saying that 2.5 years, what has he done? What has Honorable Masori done, the paramount chief now? What was his achievement in the constituency? If he has been able to do a lot, then it will actually rally the people behind. It will actually influence the people that yes, if we had given him even 4 years, he would have done a lot. So I am seeing clearly that as we speak now, it will be very difficult for us to conclude that Honorable Masoro did so much, so it is going to impact onto the election. But really, we are just doing an analysis of what we are seeing from my political laboratory. But the people of Talensi are also looking at it from a different perspective. So at the end of the day, may the best candidate win for the people of Talensi. And I believe, like Prof said, politics in this country, we need to focus on the credentials. We need to focus on the characteristics of the personalities. And so if you do not have...
And what attributes they bring forward.
Exactly. If you don't get into parliament with the very competent people, very knowledgeable people that can contribute, that can actually advocate. Don't forget that parliament is a place for a debate. Critical mindset is a mind game, politics. And so you need to get people there who can actually represent your constituency. If you don't have strong people in there, they will go and sit at the bench over there without communicating, without doing anything for people to see that yes, they can actually associate themselves with the constituency.
Now, Dr. Roxon, I ask you add your own comment to this. Over the weekend, I was doing some discussions with some political scientists who come from the area too. I mean, just the northern part of the country. And they were saying that you may have a constituency and may assume that, well, this is Talensi. But even they have, it could be that maybe they are a particular ethnic group, but they speak various dialects. And so that even informs the way they even vote. And the way they do their needs assessment and things like that. Is that true?
That's true.
And that could also come into play?
That also come into play. But talking about the numbers that the president had in the 2012 election compared to the winning candidate and the NDC, it goes back to refresh what I said earlier on about the candidate. They looked at the two candidates then. And it happened in so many places. And that is why in 2012 there was no need for Supreme Court. Because if they had looked at the pattern of most constituencies, they would have realized that the president, even where NDC won in some places, the president had more votes than that particular NDC candidate. And in other areas where even they lost, the president still had more votes than the MPP candidate. And so it boils down to the personality. And I think Ghana is moving from areas where they just sometimes identify to the... I believe that if that trend goes on, then it will come to a point where voters will be picking credentials, the ability of the person to execute, and so many other things so that our brand of politics can be transformed from where we are today, where people just blindly vote because of a political party. We should go to, we should shift the emphasis from just voting a particular political party to the person you are selecting.
Ideally, I would assume that people will vote those one-way tickets and perhaps not doing a critical analysis of the individuals or even the parties because maybe they don't have the right demographic variables, the education or literacy levels are not good, they are not well informed and things like that. But you tend to see very different, especially from the last election, and especially in the northern part of the country, where you assume people are not well educated, but still they tend to vote differently.
Differently, yes.
Why?
Most of it is there was. I would say that there was an ethnic twist in the northern region.
That plays a critical role?
Right, it plays a very critical role. And it not only in the northern region, it also happens in other places, in the Ashanti region and other places. Because if you go to the Ashanti region and you look at NDC, they have an Akan candidate. And so most people will blindly vote just because he's an Akan candidate.
So even though the NDC candidate may lose in the, but will attract a lot more votes.
Will attract a lot of more. And what also was missing was that Ashanti region is very, very mixed now. There are a lot of Northerners, if you don't know, in the Ashanti region. Lots. You go to the villages and you see lots and lots of Ashanti region. Do you know there are a lot of airways in Ashanti region too? Lots. But you never know. As people mention Ashanti region, they think all Ashanti region are what? Ashantis. No. A lot. Ghana is really mixed. And that is a good sign, very, very good for the country, because our voting patterns is very difficult to just predict that when you go to the northern region, they're likely to vote for this particular party. But I think, like what I'm saying from the beginning, they're now looking at the individual candidates. And when they look at the individual candidate, I think it's good for our parliament and as well as our presidency.
What do we need to see as far as today's election is concerned? The right state of security and things like that? Because the tension has been high. There's been counter accusations about perceived abuse of incumbency, bribery, and perceived vote buying and things like that. I mean, all those things.
I think if look, Ghanaians accuse blindly, because if it were the other side, they will do probably the same or more. Let's first of all see how the EC can regulate a free and fair election. That is what is important. And let's support the police, that is the intelligence and the police personnel, to be able to handle the election successfully. But whether it is NDC, NPP, or any other government, the same would have happened. Can we reduce this? Yes. Is this something we need to reduce? Yes. We need to make sure that we stay away from some of these things where there's vote buying or there is money in politics. I don't subscribe to that at all. It's not a good thing to do. So we must stay away from that. But accusing each other, if it were NPP, they would do the same thing if they were in government. So,
okay, I have 2 minutes. So you wrap up for me then.
Yes, Roland, you asked one of the variables, and you made mention of the ethnicity. Ethnicity in the political laboratory is one of the yardstick. You know, people look.
For example, in the United States, if you're Hispanic, you're this or that.
Exactly, exactly. So ethnicity counts in election so much. And Talensi over there, you know, the advantage, both candidates, Thomas and BT Baba, they all speak the Talensi language. But if you go to the grounds there, they will tell you that BT Baba is the one who speaks he is the indigenous Talensi man himself. So he speaks the Talensi language more than the other gentlemen, although they all speak, but it's just like Ashanti.
But we have derivatives.
Exactly.
Various dialects.
Exactly. So they said that BT Baba speaks the Talensi, typical
indigenous man.
Exactly. That is what the ground says. And so, like Doctor was saying, when you come to Ashanti region, for instance, we have a lot of Votarians there. We have a lot of Kusasis, Grumers, Zongo community, almost like
you have lived in Ashanti
yes,
region.
I've lived in Ashanti. I was born and bred in Ashanti, so I know all the dialects in Ashanti region, and that is where my laboratory is. So for Ashanti region, that is my grounds. I know every corner. And so if we looked at the percentage that the NDC has been gaining in Ashanti region, almost about 95% comes from the indigenous. Yes, from the various other tribes. Not.
But it all goes to show that we have various migration tendencies or trends, and as a result of those are influencing our choices as we make
exactly.
Okay, I have to catch you there.
Yes. So what we are saying and what we want to say is that may the people of Talensi make a good choice such that that person will be able to represent the views and do a good job for the people of Talensi.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mambwa Roxon. And Dr. Mambwa Roxon is a political scientist, studied and also taught in various universities and colleges in the United States of America. But here also contributing his quota to national development. Thanks for joining me, Dr. Mambwa Roxon. Thank you. And I also have in the studio, I have had in the studio, David Agbe. He's the executive director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, a think tank. And thanks for joining me, sir.
Thank you so much.
So we hope to have you again sometime in the studio for us to do a critical analysis, I'm sure from tomorrow, as to what the final outcome will be. And that'll be it for our discussions as far as AM Talk is concerned, but also particularly focusing on the Talensi by-election, which is currently taking place in Talensi constituency in the Upper East region. We're taking a break. When we come back, Mama View Uswabwati will be here, giving us a lot more enlightenment on other issues. So do stay on. We'll be right back.